Hello everybody, it's Anthony here from Cutting Edge Guitar, coming to you with another technique lesson today, following on from the legato tutorials that I recently did for you. This one is going to be all about the alternate picking technique. Again, I'm going to be doing a three-part series about this technique. Very similar to what I did with the legato stuff. We're going to start with linear concepts. We're going to look at some positional stuff, go to linear concepts, then we're going to look at full scale, and then hopefully putting it across the whole fretboard for you. If you haven't checked out the legato tutorials, you should have a look at those, because many of the things we're going to be doing in this lesson is inserting the plectrum into some of the stuff that we've learned in the left hand. It's very, very important with alternate picking that your fretting hand is accurate and is, well, fretting the notes correctly and in the right orders, synchronization that you're after, because basically if your fretting hand isn't in the right place at the right time, whatever you're picking isn't going to be working. Alternate picking in itself, what is it? Well, this lesson is kind of aimed at intermediate, more sort of advanced guitar players. So if you're looking for a beginner lesson where this is concerned, all of this stuff is in my high intensity guitar technique books. I put in the very first book, I put a whole load of stuff about the foundations of proper technique, showing you exactly what things like hammer-ons and pull-offs, alternate picking, string bending, all those sorts of things are. So check that out. What I also did along with the books, I put in loads of video tutorials so you could see exactly what was going on. In that I'm talking about how to hold the pick correctly, pick angles, all that sort of thing. So as I say, if you're a beginner, perhaps go and check that sort of thing out. If you're an intermediate guitarist and you know about alternate picking already, then we should be good to go. In a nutshell idea of what alternate picking is, essentially that everything that you play will be starting with either a down or an upstroke, but what you play next will be followed with the opposite. So if I start on a downstroke, the next thing is an upstroke. Now generally that causes a problem going across strings. Okay, so if I was playing a note on the B string and then I want to play another note on the high E string, it's difficult where we're going down, up, across the two strings. What we're going to be looking at today is some ideas that stay on one string. So we can look at just bedding in the foundation of that down-up movement and then taking it across strings at a later stage. One thing that you might want to do to warm you up before these exercises take place is you might want to just stay on one note for a while. Again, this is something I talked about in High Intensity Guitar Technique 1. Just playing one note and playing it over and over again. Different dynamics, different speeds, and all that sort of thing, just to learn the idea of alternate picking. So as you see what I did with that, I've just stayed on that one note and I've gone faster, slower, just getting the feel for the movement. Another thing that this is really good for is if you stay on one note for a time but then move to the next note and the next note of a scale, it's a really good way of just mapping the fretboard to make sure you know what all of the fingerings are that we're going to use. So kind of similar to how a mandolin player would play. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go up my high E string using the A natural minor scale. And I'm going to stay on each note for a certain amount of time. I'm going to alternate pick it at high speed. So with that there, that's a really good way of warming you up. It's warming up this hand, but also it's mapping in my mind where I'm going to be going for a natural minor. Again, following on from the legato tutorials that I did, I put in loads of scale diagrams across those tutorials because I'm going to do all of these exercises in a natural minor. So yeah, maybe you want to check those out and make sure that you know the fingerings for all of this. It's all tabbed on the accompanying blog posts to this YouTube tutorial. I've put tabs up on my website, and also again you can download the actual blog post for free, or you can make a contribution if you like the lessons and you want to help me make more of these kind of things. You can pay whatever you want. You can just help me out just by, you know, donating $1 or $2, and that would be much appreciated. Okay, so that's what I would be doing to get myself started, warmed up, and away we go. Just one final thing before we move into the exercises, actually. Another thing that you could do, rather than just moving sequentially up and down the scales with the faster tremolo picking, that's called. Rather than just going straight up and down the scales, you might want to do it in sequences, something like this. Now that's just a different way sonically of hearing something different, or you could do something like this even. Just at the very end there, I jumped to a G sharp rather than the G natural, which is in the A natural minor scale. I did that because I'm borrowing a note there from something called the harmonic minor scale. Again, I put some charts for that in the legato tutorials that I did. The G sharp just leads a bit nicer into the A, so it gives you a better resolution at the end. Just one of those things, if you like neoclassical music or jazz even, you hear that scale quite often. Okay, let's have a look at the examples then that are in Cutting Edge Alternate Picking Part 1. 5 examples in this tutorial. What I've done in the previous ones, I've done 12 examples. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you 5 basic examples, and then we're going to talk about lots of ways that you can expand on them. So example 1, this shows you 3 static fingerings, okay? Now we did these in the legato tutorial, and it was basically this thing. So where I'm hammering and then doing a pull off back to the original note I started on. We're going to insert the pick into this now, so we get this. Okay. So, like I say, the reason I started with the legato tutorial doing that sort of thing is so that we can prepare the fretting hand for what it needs to do, so now we can insert the plectrum. When you're playing modern rock and fusion, neoclassical, all that sort of thing, lines that would use this kind of playing, if you've got the legato thing down and now you start looking at picking it, you can choose on the fly what sort of sound you want. Do you want to sound smooth? Or do you want to sound aggressive? Okay, so that's why I want to look at doing different techniques but using the same kind of ideas so that you get different sounds. So as a part of example 1, I put that in as the first fingering. I've also showed this up here at the 7th fret. And then also at the 8th fret. So what you're getting with those 3 fingerings is a static area of the fretboard that will use the 3 different finger combinations that you see in 3 notes per string scale forms. Okay, if you just practice those particular areas, you'll get all of the fingerings that you can use anywhere in major scale modes. Now once you've got those fingerings down and you can play them up to whatever speed it is that you want to play them at, again using your metronome and all that sort of thing to build the speed and the fluidity that you want for your music, once you've got those individual fingerings down, it's fairly straightforward playing through an entire scale on one string, as long as you know where the positions of those scale tones are. So A natural minor would give me these shapes across the fretboard. You could keep going up if you've got 24 frets or whatever, but I'm going to stop there for now. So as I'm going through that, now all I would need to do to play those exercises through the entire scale along one entire string is just join those positions together. Okay, example number 2 is going to be looking at the reverse of the first exercise that we did. So now we're going to be doing this sort of thing. So again, it's a very sort of neoclassical kind of idea. That kind of thing reminds me a lot of Vinnie Moore. So if you want to listen to a player that uses that kind of idea in his playing all the time, Vinnie Moore, he's the dude when it comes to those sorts of things. Excellent guitarist. Again, I've shown that in the 3 different fingerings. So the next one along would be... and of course the 3rd position. And then if you want to start joining up the entire fretboard for the A natural minor scale, something else that you can do with these, these examples don't always have to move in one direction. So I could play example 2, which is like a reverse idea, but going back down the length of the string. What I'm doing at the moment, I'm playing it in reverse, moving forwards along the length of the string. So let's say, and you don't always have to do it on the 1st string either. Let's say if I move to the 2nd string, so the example is... and now I can take that along the length of that 2nd string. You can go as far as you like or whatever, and obviously try and build up your speed if speed is your thing. That can be done on any string, and you can also do it in any key, in any scale, whatever you want to do with it. Okay, so that was example 2. Example number 3 shows another couple of sextuplet patterns. By sextuplet I mean 6 notes per beat. Obviously I did talk about that in the previous legato tutorials, and I talk about them all in my books and everything, but if you don't know what I mean by sextuplet, 6 notes per metronome click is what I'm talking about there. So these 2 patterns I'm going to show you, when I've put these in the tab, I haven't written these in all of the different fingerings, and haven't written them up and down the length of the string, because I'm hoping that by looking at it in one position, once you've got the idea down, you'll be able to put it into the different positions yourself by following the scale diagrams. And if somebody writes everything out for you all the time in every single position, and you're always following a tab, you don't tend to learn it as well as you might just by thinking for yourself. As in, if you know all of your 3 notes per string scale forms, you can go, right, I can literally put this anywhere. So that first pattern, I could move that to the next string, staying within a same 3 note per string scale shape. Or any one of those strings for that matter. Or move to a different position, other strings, and there we go. You can put these anywhere you like, and you can also try loads of different scales and all that sort of thing. So for example, I said about harmonic minor earlier on, so this fingering would be in A harmonic minor. If I moved it to this fingering, it's a different fingering from A harmonic minor, for example. Obviously there's the 3 fingerings that you could put that into that we've studied for A natural minor, and then of course playing it along the length of the whole string. And if you wanted to do it in reverse motion, know, just practice them in as many different ways that you can think of, and you're just constantly working on your technique. What's nice about moving it around the fretboard in that way and trying different scale positions and all that sort of thing is that you're also working on your fretboard knowledge at the same time. It's like when a lot of people practice, they think, right, I'm going to practice my scales, then I'm going to practice my technique, then I'm going to practice improvisation. You know, there's a lot of things you can sort of bundle them together. So when you're practicing improvisation, you could practice with a focus on a particular technique and say, right, I want to do it in a scale that I'm not familiar with as well. Sure, you're going to make mistakes, but mistakes are things that we learn from, right? So there we go. Example 3, I did also do a different variation on the sextuplet thing. So that first pattern, as I said, was this. The second pattern is doing this. Now, if there's one guitar player that you would really think of when you hear that pattern, it's probably Yngwie Malmsteen. One of the most controversial guitar players on the planet, I think. He divides opinion like no other player I've ever come across. As a part of these lessons that I'm doing on YouTube, I'm doing technique lessons, and I've got this series that I'm working through and working on. Outside of that, I'm doing quick tip lessons where I'm talking about, you know, other small facets of technique and things like that. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing is maybe doing some videos where we just discuss certain players and elements of what they do and how they divide opinion and things. I'd love to hear some opinions on Yngwie because I think he's great. A lot of people say that he's a not very nice person. I don't know what the insert expletive here, I suppose. A lot of people say lots of bad things about him because he's an egotist. I just find it funny. I mean, the guy is an unbelievably good guitar player. He might not be your cup of tea as a person, but that doesn't mean that you can slag off his playing. If you don't like his playing because you think he plays too many notes or he plays too fast or something like that, interesting. Let's talk about it. Maybe drop me a line in the comments and we can see what people think about those sorts of things. Anyway, whether you like him or not, this pattern is quite useful. Again, like I say, sextuplet. Obviously, if you want to build it up to speed and sound a bit more like Yngwie, it will go like this. By the way, what I just said there, if you want to sound a bit more like Yngwie, I'll probably get a load of abuse in the comments now going, oh, do you think you're as good as Yngwie? No, I don't think I'm as good as Yngwie. I know I'm not as good as Yngwie. I'm just trying to teach people, you know, this is the sort of thing that he does. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, he does this a lot. And he moves it around the fretboard like this. And of course you can do that sort of thing in reverse as well. Another player who uses that sort of thing a lot is Paul Gilbert. He's a player who doesn't seem to divide opinions in quite the same way because he's a really, really nice guy. Unbelievable guitarist, really, really cool person. So check him out too. He uses that pattern quite a lot. He often does things like this, actually. Oh, well, that wasn't very good. I'll do that again. So what he's doing there, he's kind of moving between the natural minor and the harmonic minor scale in one lick. But it's the same sextuplet pattern that we've just been using there. Okay, example number 4. Example number 4 is a 16th note run. Again, it's very reminiscent of Yngwie's playing, but anyone who wants to just add 16th note flurries into their playing, whether you play rock or sort of jazz, fusion, anything that's technical. I mean, these aren't particularly bluesy ideas, but any kind of music that's technical. If you play progressive rock, metal, as I said, jazz fusion, those kind of things, you might find something useful in an idea like this. So let's think for a moment. Jazz fusion guitar players that use lots of alternate picking, fast stuff. Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, great players, ferocious technique, loads of alternate picking stuff going on in what they do. I mean, there's many more. Talk about them in the comments. Drop me a line, say, check out this guy. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some unbelievable guitarists that I haven't heard of. So let's get talking. Drop me a message. Example number 4. Anyway, what we're doing with this example, 16th note. Now, I haven't written this in a static area. I've just written it straight along the length of the high E string, because staying in a static area, this one doesn't really work. I'd need to double that note up again to make the pattern work. So ideally what we want to do is just move to the next position. Okay, so that's example 4. Again, remember that you can insert that into lots of different strings for the same scale or change scale. Just, you know, play it along in the opposite direction along the string. Do whatever you want with it. The more that you practice, the better you're going to be. So finally, example number 5. This is kind of like a descending 16th note idea. Comes out like this. Again, I did just borrow quickly from the harmonic minor scale there, just to make it sound a bit more finished. The idea with this one is that it's a descending group of 4. So you're playing through the scale, but you're playing 4 notes of it, come back 1. So you hear that da 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 as you move all the way through the scale. It's actually a lot easier to do than playing, which is the same kind of thing but moving through a scale position along the length of 1 string. Arguably it's easier to play faster. So there we have it. Okay guys, they are the 5 examples that are in this tutorial. As I said, the tabs for them all is on the blog post, which is in the description. If you want to expand further on these ideas, I've put tons and tons of this sort of thing in my high intensity guitar technique series. So check that out. You can check that out from the store on my website, anthonygeorgeguitar.com. If you're into print books, they're available on Amazon as well, so check them out on Amazon. Make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to be doing loads more of these kind of tutorials. I'm going to get loads more of the quick tip things going, which hopefully you'll find really useful. And like I said, if you want to discuss things with me, like other players, or if you want to ask questions maybe about some of the other ways that you can practice these ideas, anything like that, just drop me a line in the comments. Hope you've enjoyed the lesson. The next tutorial that I'm going to do on this technique is all about playing through positions and yeah, expanding on the matter that we've done so far today. So take care guys, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next lesson.